As weeks and months pass by, are EVs turning into a nightmare for their owners? One of the main advantages of electric vehicles, which lowers operating expenses, is their exemption from a number of taxes, including road tax. But that is changing as low and zero emission cars will have to start paying vehicle excise duty next year.
To make our motoring tax system fairer, I've decided that from then, electric vehicles will no longer be exempt from vehicle excise duty.
Sometimes when you least think is when the most dramatic changes happen, and this time too it seems like passionate and hardcore EV fans like you will have to take a hit. All of you will agree that EVs are the future, but now things are looking very bleak for the EV sector, and in the coming days you will get to know if there will ever be an EV segment. Sometimes a small shift can cause billions of dollars of loss to the government, and this will make the government worried. Now you must be wondering as to why in the world is the EV industry causing so much tensions and worries to the government. As the move away from combustion engines threatens to leave a $10 billion hole in government revenues due to a decline in fuel duty payments, international lawmakers are enacting new levies on electric vehicles. Several jurisdictions, including the UK, New Zealand, Israel, and most US states, have implemented tax modifications and levies on electric and hybrid cars in an effort to generate revenue and make up for the reduction in excise taxes on gasoline and diesel. Measures, yes. The measure taken by the government to compensate for their income. This is what all of you must try to understand. The measures range from taxes on public charging stations to mileage-based road usage charges and registration fees. Green activists and EV owners claim that society's transition from gas-guzzling to lower-emission cars will be slowed down. There are many ways to put it out. According to Tennessee resident Jeff Schaffner, who drives an electric Chevy Volt and where annual taxes have increased to $200 this year, it is more like a penalty. Now you must have realized and understood better about the government's intention. Have you ever heard about the vehicle excise duty? If the answer to that is yes, then you sure must be owning a car. But if you are an EV owner, you never paid any VED as of now. But then things are changing rapidly and you will keep hearing about this term. Many countries have slowly started to bring in changes with regards to taxation. Recently in the UK, the Chancellor has stated that owners of electric cars will begin to pay vehicle excise duty, also referred to as road tax, in 2025. According to industry insiders, the introduction of VED could slow the shift to electric vehicles. Conventional automobile owners, however, may face a far quicker increase in their operating expenses due to a scheduled fuel duty increase in March 2023, which could raise the price of gasoline and diesel by 12 pence per litre. If you have visited the UK, then you must have noticed that the UK has a much higher ratio of EVs on road compared to any other European country. New taxation rules means that the position of the UK among the European nations will soon change. What do you think? The percentage of battery electric vehicles on UK roads is rising, which means that fuel duty and vehicle emissions duty income to the Treasury will be declining. But what's more shocking is in the UK, new gasoline and diesel vehicle sales will be prohibited starting in 2030. All zero-emission cars are currently exempt from VED, with rates mostly based on emissions and vehicle age. EVs will pay the lowest band, which is now $10, for new cars during the first year of ownership before moving up to the regular rate for the other cars. Newer diesel and petrol automobile owners usually pay between $120 and $945 in the first year, then $165 per year for the next 5 years. Additionally, such charges apply to more expensive vehicles, which may affect new EVs. Looks like the days are looking much darker for EVs in the coming days. Believing in data collected always gives us an idea about leakages, and then the next step involves closing the big hole responsible for that leakage. In fact, the International Energy Agency had also conducted a study on the losses caused by EVs, and this is what has come out from the study. According to IEA data, the switch to EVs eliminated $10 billion in global gasoline and diesel tax revenue last year, net of a little increase in new electricity tax revenue. If countries reach their electrification targets, the net loss is expected to increase to $110 billion by 2035, depriving governments of crucial money that are frequently set aside to pay for road upkeep and transportation projects. Another interesting find is that 60% of worldwide revenue losses occurred in Europe last year, a region where countries generally impose greater taxes on gasoline and diesel than do the US and China. Once a shining example of environmentally friendly transportation and rapid technological advancement, the electric vehicle business is currently in chaos. Is the EV industry dead? Many are of the opinion that besides these new taxation issues, there are many other factors that have led to this crisis. If you have been following the news, you have probably seen a lot of stories over the last few days about the EV industry and the EV firms' struggles with competition. He, Xiaopeng, the CEO of XPeng, furthermore, a Chinese competitor of Tesla, declared that the company was boosting spending and adding thousands of additional employees to withstand the bloody sea of rivalry. Take, for example, the Volkswagen-backed business. XPeng said that they would hire 4,000 more people and spend $486 million on AI and driverless vehicle technologies. XPeng, which has its headquarters in Guangzhou, has been struggling in spite of making large announcements of recruitments and investments. The CEO, He Xiaopeng of XPeng, remarked that a lot of business partners are retreating because they're hesitant to make investments in EV. He continued by saying that since its establishment 10 years prior, XPeng, which was created in 2014, has been in a bloody sea of rivalry. This response by a CEO of an EV company comes at a time when China's disproportionate capability to produce electric vehicles was causing Washington and Brussels to become more anxious. Being an EV buff, you must have noticed that the past year has seen a downturn in the demand for electric vehicles manufactured by General Motors due to increased competition from Chinese manufacturers and high borrowing prices in the United States. Hold on a sec, did you hear about GM? They seem to be hitting the brakes a bit on electric vehicles and stepping on the gas with gasoline cars again. It's no surprise really. Just like most other car companies, gasoline is where the big bucks are for GM right now. Strong demand for the automaker's very profitable pickup trucks and SUVs under the Chevrolet and GMC brands will help GM CEO Mary Barra. Barclays increased its target price for GM shares by 10% to $55 million some time ago. Citing strong sales of the company's truck and SUV lines, overall, GM feels pretty optimistic. The year started strong, and demand seems to be holding steady. Electric vehicles are a bit of a wild card right now, and it's expensive for these big American companies to switch everything over. GM's high proportion of EVs to gas-burning trucks in its North American sales mix will somewhat offset the automaker's anticipated loss from its operations in China. Many are saying that the European Union may have ignited one of its greatest conflicts of a rise in state backing for vital industries sparks a worldwide subsidy war. Many say that the war is with China over EV exports as the Chinese market is stagnant. One thing that you must have observed is that China is in fact caught up in a mess with the US and UK government. Imagine millions of European auto jobs hanging in the balance. That's the fear gripping the European Union, prompting them to launch an investigation into China's electric vehicle industry. Why? Because China has been pouring money into its EV sector, and Europe worries it's giving Chinese car makers an unfair advantage. This investigation could take up to 9 months and might lead to new import taxes on Chinese EVs. But the twist? Even big non-EU names like Tesla could get caught in the crossfire. Tesla builds cars in China for export to Europe, so they might face these new tariffs too. This whole situation could get messy. According to people familiar with the situation, the action might result in tariffs on Chinese EVs that are similar to the 27.5% level currently levied by the US. A larger rethink by governments in developed economies to shift production closer to home is evident in the bloc's investigation as well as Washington's aggressive countermoves against China. The world is slowly but steadily losing its trust in China ever since this information has come out. Do you think the beginning of the end of the EV era has begun now with new taxation coming in place? Do share your thoughts on this in the comments section. For more interesting stories and updates, subscribe to our channel, and do not forget to press the bell icon for notifications. Goodbye.